We have some breaking tariff news for Amazon sellers. Essentially, as of today, August 11th, Trump has signed another executive order, this one adding a truce for 90 days on the current tariffs. So, if you don't know, essentially back in March, we had a tariff war going on, shooting tariffs all the way up to 145%. Well, as of today, there is another 90-day extension on the bring down that we had there, of essentially the truce within that war, bringing tariffs down to 30% with the 10% base rate and the 20% fentanyl related tariff imposed by Washington. So essentially, we have a couple of different things that are going on here. The primary thing that we're hearing is that the entire point of the 90-day pause in the first place was to lay the groundwork for broader negotiations. And recently, we've been hearing a lot of things, one most notably talking about the idea of quadrupling the purchase in China of soybeans. The US and Trump want to have China purchase more soybeans. So the entire idea here is that essentially we are seeing a lot of controversy around the fact that this is just another pause, right? And it's very Trump-esque in his negotiation tactics to just pause things and leave it until, the 99-yard line, so to speak, in which he then goes and says, yeah, let's do this instead. So, are we going to get to the 99-yard line, or I guess 89-day mark, again, 90 days from now, and see that we get another extension? I'm not so sure. I don't think we will get that far, but I'm sure over this fall, we are going to see quite a bit of negotiations between Beijing and the US, as well as China and the US, around what all of this is going to look like. But does that really stop what is going to happen in the future? And does that really stop or impose anything that goes on? How does this affect Chinese sellers on Amazon's platform in the first place? And the truth of the matter is, it really doesn't. Chinese sellers on Amazon's platform have been a bane for US sellers for a very long time at this point. So why? Why is it that they are able to have such low prices? Why is it even with tariffs, they seem unaffected, they're not raising their prices? And it comes down to a couple of different things. The primary thing is that they use black hat tactics to say that their products cost X amount, and so therefore, even if they're hit with 30% tariff, what does that matter if they're saying that their product only costs, let's say, 10 cents to manufacture, so that 30% tariff is only realistically 3 cents, not including shipping, of course, and the costs associated with that. But furthermore, it's that they are able to essentially have a much, much lower profit margin. The USD to won conversion is, I think, the largest issue when it comes to Chinese sellers on Amazon's platform, in the sense that $1 goes a lot further in China than it does in the US. You have to have essentially a much smaller, or you can have a much smaller profit margin and still be relatively well adjusted. So how would we actually solve this problem for good when it comes to Chinese sellers? Well, there's a couple of different theories of thought, but my personal favorite theory when it comes to this would be specifically doing purchasing power parities. And what this essentially means is that the rate of currency conversion that equalize the purchasing power of different currencies by eliminating the differences in price levels between countries. So that seems, I think, a little confusing for most people, so let me break it down. Essentially, it would mean that, let's say that a product here in the US is sold by a Chinese company for $10, and they have a profit margin of $1. Normally, that $1 would be exchanged into won and then sent back in the form of won in a direct exchange. It doesn't matter what the current exchange rate is, that's what happens. However, in the idea of purchasing power parities, instead of just doing a direct exchange rate, it is based off of the idea of buying power within the country. So what is the equivalent 1 USD buying power for essentially the won? And we would transfer back the equivalent of 1 won comparatively to just transferring over 1 USD to them, which is X amount of won. So this is the only real way, in my opinion, and Amazon, and both at the federal level and at Amazon level, would need to enact this in order for any type of situation where Chinese sellers stop taking such an advantage over US sellers. So is this something that's going to happen today, tomorrow, or the next day? No. Are tariffs really going to impact this? I don't think so, honestly. I don't think tariffs have any play in this, but I think the tariffs being extended another 90 days is going to be a really, really major impact for the majority of US sellers right now going into Q4, because it means that we have another 90 days to get all of that Q4 inventory in so that you're not being hit with that additional tariff. Now, What are we going to have happening within Q4? I'm not too sure. But what I will say is that I'm really glad we got this extension right at the end line. And I'm really hoping that it extends into the future a little bit so that we have a really, really profitable Q4 and we'll be able to be well positioned to take on 2026 and any challenges that may come with it.